Hi kids, LeAnne here. Let's see if we can get this to stop shaking. This is LeAnne with happymailbyleanne.com. I'm going to be making a quick little card tonight. You know, for those of you that follow me, I just made a anniversary card for my husband in army green with camouflage, blah blah blah, because those are his favorite. So I thought I'd do the same version of that card, but with a feminine twist. So these are the paper sizes that you'll need. This is just a coordinating pattern paper, and then I have a large heart and a sentiment die cut. So let's get into it. The first thing that I did is I'm going to pull out my handy dandy score and cut. You guys have seen this before, but for those of you who haven't seen my process, I'll show you. We're going to fold this 8.5 by 5.5 card in half, and we're going to do that by going to the 4 1/4 score line and scoring it, and then just flipping it over and scoring it again in the same place, because it's easier to fold when you do it that way. At least I find it's easier to fold when you do it that way. Then I'm gonna hold the fold. I'm gonna hold the fold along the board so that it's easy for me to manage, and I'm gonna line those corners up just like so. Lay it down without letting go of my pinch and fold it. Then I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm going to burnish the edge so that I get a nice crease. And that's step 1. Step 2, I'm going to take this stamp. Hopefully you can see it. I don't know if it's available anymore or not, but I will check, and I will link it down below if it is. I'm using Blusing Bride in ink and in paper. I love Stampin' Up's matching papers and inks, and that's my go-to. So we're using Blusing Bride tonight with this stamp, and I'm just going to ink it up and stamp all over the paper. I don't have any stories for you tonight. I'm feeling a little bit tired. My son has COVID, and we're taking extra precautions to be safe, especially since I have an immune compromised system. So things are a little crazy. Alright, there. We got lots of nice little pattern. I'm going to move that to the side and just wipe the excess ink off of my splat mat. Then the next thing that I'm going to do, I want to use these decorative metallics, flakes. I have them in silver. And what you do is you just take some of your Tombow mono liquid glue and put it on. I'm going to just color in with the glue very lightly. You don't need a lot of glue. Just very lightly some of these places. I'm not doing the whole thing. I'm just doing little bits of this image just here and there, coloring it in. And then when this dries almost completely, it'll be tacky, and I can throw the flakes on there and rub them off. And we'll wait for this to get a little bit dry so that I can show you. I'm not going to do the whole thing. I have one already pre-made so that you can see. We don't have to sit here and do the whole process. Unless you guys like the whole process, let me know in the comments below if you want to see the whole thing, or if you want me to do these videos in a way that I have stuff pre-done so that I can just show you the technique and on part of a card, and then magically pull out a card that's already complete with whatever technique. So let me know how you would like me to go about doing that. My video, for some reason, only allows me a certain amount of time to create a video, and then it breaks it up into 2 videos. And I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to resolve that problem. So until then, until I can make longer videos, I'm going to do as many things as I can to shorten our videos. Plus, I don't know about you, but I don't want to watch a 2-hour-long YouTube video or a 45-minute YouTube video of somebody doing something. Even if their story's interesting, even if I'm enjoying it, I don't want to spend that much time. You know, a 10 to 20 minute video is plenty. I just don't have time for that in my life. So let me know in the comments what you think about that. Let's see, that's pretty good. And if you look here, you see how this is kind of opaque up here. This is white down here where it's still wet. Where it's drying, it goes clear. We'll give that a minute to dry. I think I'll hit it with the heat gun and see if that helps it dry a little bit faster. Well, in the meantime, I took my heart, and let that dry a little bit. I took my heart and I sandwiched it in this embossing folder. It's a Stampin' Up for the Big Shot embossing folder, and I just put it down in the corner here because I wanted the image at an angle, and I ran it through my embossing machine, and this is what I ended up with. I don't know if you can see the texture on that. I really wanted some good texture. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to take my brush, and I'm going to just lightly go over it in the same color. Again, I'm using this Blusing Bride ink. Is the same, and I am just going to give it some dimension, because, you know, there's nothing, I don't like flat cards. My cards need dimension personally. It gives them some movement. It makes them more interesting. I feel like more love is put into a card with some movement into it, you know, just because it's not as boring. Cards can be boring. So I don't know if you can see that. It looks a little bit messy. And I think I want it a little stronger. Yeah. If I just dip the edges into my ink pad. getting a bigger, a deeper edge. Give me just a second and I'll show you what that looks like. See how dark it is around the edge now? There we go. While we're at it, I'll go ahead and ink the edges of this little background paper. This little fella needs some dimension. And this is once again that I don't know, yeah, this is just a scrap piece of paper. And one more, we're gonna ink the edges of this, just all of the paper. I'm not gonna ink the edges of the well, maybe I will. I was gonna say I'm not gonna ink the edges of the card base, but I think I will, just because it gives it a little more oomph and a more professional look. Okay, this area is dry enough that I can proceed with this. Proceed with caution. Ooh, it's a little messy. So when your glue is opaque like it is up here, you just lay these handy dandy little things on there. They're just flakes, and sometimes they're big flakes and sometimes they're little flakes. It's a little bit messy. I just want to show you the technique so that you can see what we're doing. And I'm sure you get the idea. Come on, little guy. There we go. Didn't want to pick it up. Okay, now that I've got those on there, I'll finish that later. I'm going to take another brush, a different brush, and I'm just going to push. You got to push firmly and take the excess off. Just like that. See? So, I've got this other one that I've done already. Isn't that pretty? Let me ink the edges of this card. I don't always like using a brush to ink the edges. I really like using the stamp pad itself, but I think when I use a brush, it's softer. It's not as harsh of a line, as you could see when I did the heart. I think I'm off camera, I'm sorry. I'm still getting the hang of this whole YouTube thing. Okay. Ta-da-da! Pretty simple. Now, we're going to assemble part of this card. Typically, I don't assemble at this point, but I want to see what I've got going on here. So I'm going to take this, make sure I'm going the right direction, and just center it right there. And then I'm going to take my pattern paper. I'm using an ATG gun, by the way, which is what I almost always use for this kind of adhesive. I just have a very, very, very little border. It's just a tiny border. You could do your paper in a little bit different sizes, so you had a bigger border if you wanted. But I just wanted an ever so slight, tiny border. Okay, where are we going to put this? Right right about center, a little off kilter. See how this is not centered? Like, I don't want it right there. I want it right here. So there's that. It's a little bit boring. So we're going to spice it up with a sentiment. What sentiment, you ask? This one. We're gonna emboss. So this is just a embossing buddy pad from Stampin' Up that keeps the embossing powder from sticking where you don't want it. And I'm going to use this basic gray stamp set, and we're going to write love just like we did on the other card. So for those of you that watched the other one, you might be a little bit bored, but we'll see if we can make these fit. This die cut's a little bit smaller than the one I used on the last card I did. But we're gonna get out our, I'm gonna get out our Versamark and back to this Blushing Bride. It is Blushing Bride, isn't it? Yeah, Blushing Bride ink. And you can stamp in any color you want. You can emboss in any color you want. All you need is a Versamark, an ink pad, and clear embossing powder. And how you do it is you stamp with the Versamark, and then your colored ink, and then you stamp your image. Ooh, that's not going to be very bright. Oh, I messed up. I don't like that. So we're going to turn it over. Oh, we can't turn it over. Oh, thank goodness I have another one right here handy. We'll try this again. Versamark. We'll try... I'm sorry, I'm focused, so I'm not talking. That's boring content. And one last stamp. Let's see how well this turns out. I have my handy dandy clear embossing powder. You see how that sticks on there? I might have to do a darker pink instead of this pink. I need a pair of tweezers to do this because it's going to be hot. It's going to be hot in my big silver pot. Ho, ho, ho! When it gets hot, that embossing powder just melts. You can see how that melted. I don't know if I had a good angle. I actually kind of like this. It's kind of, it's really light, and you can see the pink, but at some places it doesn't look like the pink is showing through very well. So I'm gonna take my sponge and I'm gonna ink the edges of this. And I'm going to ink across the front of it. I'm tempted to crumple it up and give it a little more dimension, but we've got so much dimension going on with the heart already stenciled that I don't think we need it. So we're going to take some I can't think of what this stuff is called. It's dimensional tape. I'm just going to put a little bit. These are my sticky scissors. I only use these to cut sticky stuff. I highly recommend getting yourself a pair of just cheap school scissors. I don't even know where these came from. But they're just, like, they were like leftovers from one of my kids' kindergarten class or something. And I only cut sticky stuff with them. And it saves my other scissors from getting messed up. Okay. I'm going to put this a little bit low, hanging off that heart, just like that. And voila, we have a card. Next thing is to stamp my signature on it. happymail.by.leanne.com. And there you go. Another beautiful card for your enjoyment. If you enjoyed this video, please smash the like button and give me a follow. If you love me, share. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.